It's stuff like this that reminds me of why I love the anime adaptation of My Hero Academia so much. This type of censorship is very tasteful. Now, just to clarify, because I know many might, misinterpret what I just said about tasteful censorship, I am not putting down the censors. In fact, I'm actually praising it, because honestly, if you were unaware or you weren't really paying that much attention, you wouldn't really know it's censored. But the arm on Izuku in the anime was clearly darkened out and all that. You could still see the damage to the shreddedness of the arm, like his skin is literally shredded and hanging off, but it's darkened to where they can get away with it. And it's censorship like that I truly appreciate. And when you compare it to the manga, it's pretty much identical. Just like I said, the only difference is that his skin is a lot darkened up and beat up and bruised compared to the manga equivalent. Now, the only true difference is just the fingers. His fingers in the manga look way more messed up than his fingers in the anime, but that's to be expected. That's just some very brutal looking fingers in the manga. But that right there, I just truly appreciate how that was done by Studio Bones and the entire team that worked on this episode. Like, I actually talked about this in a video I made earlier this week, and if you want to get more details on who made this episode or directed this episode and storyboarded this episode, you can check out the video. I'll have it in the description. But it's just, this episode, oh my god, it was good. It's some pure quality stuff. This right here is a message from Horikoshi himself once that event happened in this episode. The 1 million, one for all punch from Izuku. This explains the message of that, because many are going to misunderstand or think poorly of that scene. Because normal shonen, or how people view shonen when it comes to large numbers, they usually think it's a random power-up, or it doesn't make much sense at all, and I could see why. When this part of the series first came out in manga form, many of the manga readers of My Hero Academia were extremely upset, because they're like, whoa, you're telling me Izuku jumped from 5% one for all to 1 million? Like, that doesn't make any sense, because he's like shattering his arm, at 100%, so 1 million should just blow his entire arm off or something. And so many were upset with that scene because it just did not make sense. So Horikoshi, after receiving a couple of letters, messages, and stuff like that, he eventually broke down and tried to explain the scene. That the 1 million% was not in fact using 1 million% of one for all, it was the equivalent of a battle cry. Hyping yourself up, and also kind of like plus ultra, how they say plus ultra and all that, that's pretty much what it is. He was building up his own courage and all that for he could strike at Muscular and take him down. It was never meant to be a power-up. It's just kind of him exerting himself, trying to overcome his own limits and push himself, work through the fear, work through the pain to take down Muscular. So, once again, as clarification, Izuku did not go that high. It was just the fact that he needed to say that to build up the courage to stand and face this obstacle that was before him. And even Horikoshi, in his offer comment on that, he actually stated he will try to better represent the emotions of his characters in scenes like this in the future. So he does admit that he could have handled it a lot differently, which I appreciate that. It shows that Horikoshi, he admits that he could have handled it in a way that didn't seem like that, like a random power-up, and he will try from now on to not make something like that seem so confusing for the readers or watchers of the anime. So that is something I truly respect, and I'm glad that he acknowledged something like that, because that is something you clearly see a lot of times in shonen and typically lead to poor writing, and that clearly was not the case. But Horikoshi admits that he could have handled it in a different way. I want to get the miscellaneous stuff out of the way first before I get into the Izuku and Muscular stuff, because that, once I get onto that, I'm probably not going to stop talking about it, because it was that good. To begin, let's start off with what's going on with Aizawa, because it's a very quick scene. So Aizawa realizes that things are going down. For instance, these students and all that are being attacked, and so he's trying to check everything out, check out the situation, and try to figure out a way to handle it and protect the students. So as he rushes outside, he gets attacked by one of the League of Villains, Dabi, and he literally blows Aizawa up. like out of nowhere. Just blue flames extend and blow Aizawa up. We don't really know the devastation or damage that Aizawa just took. We don't know how damaged he is. We don't know if he's even alive at this point, but he took a direct hit by Dabi, and that is not good whatsoever. Now, I do want to talk about the dialogue that Dabi did say in that scene. He says, "You are not on our list. We are not here for you, pro heroes." So that basically means that they were never targeting, the pro heroes or certain people. They weren't targeting, for instance, Aizawa. They just want him out of the way. So they're targeting individuals, which we do get a reference to that in this episode in the Muscular and Izuku fight. Muscular talks to Izuku's like, "Where's Bakugo and all that? Do you know a kid named Bakugo, where he's at?" And, Izuku's like, "Wait, what?" In his mind, he's thinking like, why does he want him and all that? He's like, there's no time to think about this. But also, even Izuku, he was on the list, and he was actually meant to be killed. For instance, he had a kill order put on him to get him put down. That's what Shigaraki did. Remember what Shigaraki said at the end of Season 2? If they ever met again, he's done. So that lets us know that, Shigaraki hasn't forgotten that, and he wanted Izuku completely out of the picture, and that is why Muscular went all in like he did in this episode. But getting back on topic, as I said, I would say the Muscular and Izuku stuff for last. So there's a list. It was mentioned quite a few times in this episode. We don't know exactly what it's entirely for. It could be a list of who needs to die, who doesn't, but overall, there is a list, and it's something very vital to this part of the story. Now, speaking of characters, lists, and stuff like that, it was a very quick scene, and many might kind of overlook it because of all the action we got with this episode, but there was a ragdoll scene, and it was very quick. It was a quick exchange between Spinner, Magne, and also, what we had from the other Pussycats. They were basically saying, what happened to her and all that? What happened to Ragdoll? She's not answering back. She should have given a signal by now, but there was nothing, and we get a scene panning over to just a bloody mess all over the ground, which shows that something had to have happened to Ragdoll. Now, we don't know exactly what happened, but something did. Now, remember, like I said in my previous episode review of My Hero Academia, Ragdoll's quirk, extremely OP. Very OP. For instance, discovers weaknesses of individuals and stuff. So, that overall quirk would easily devastate the League of Villains right now, if Ragdoll is in the picture. So, you kind of see that most likely they might have targeted her because of how her quirk operates. They don't want to have to deal with that in the first place. So anyways, now they got that scene out of the way, let's talk about the brief little fight we got at the beginning of the episode. So, Spinner, we get to see his true introduction finally, and he basically says he is following Stain's ideals. He is following his ideology, and this is the repercussion of what Stain did, what he tried to achieve. With him becoming, widespread on the news and media covering him, obviously many villains got built up and wanted to join, different, villain associations, or the League of Villains. They wanted to join them. So, Stain directly caused an uprising in villains to allow them to get out of the shadows and come into the spotlight. And that's kind of what Spinner represents. He is Stain's ideology. I mean, the outfit alone just, says volumes. I mean, he looks exactly like Stain. And the funny thing I like about Spinner's design is that when Stain was first introduced, many were making jokes saying that Stain looks like a Ninja Turtle. I remember that was a big thing in the community. And I remember a couple of anime-onlys actually saying that as well when Stain was first introduced, saying he looks like a freaking Ninja Turtle. And now that you see Spinner, the way he's introduced, his entire look, he looks even more like a Ninja Turtle than Stain did. And I feel like that's Horikoshi being very aware of the memes about his community, because FYI, Horikoshi obviously does like his Western audience. I mean, he's inspired by comics for a reason, so he most likely knows about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he probably heard some of his community talk about Stain's design, and most likely he might have made Spinner off of that in the first place. But yeah, Spinner overall, really interesting character, but he pretty much is one of those Stain fans that's taking his ideology and using it for their own means. That's what you can get from his character. Magne, there wasn't a whole lot really explained, but there is something that needs to be spoken about when it comes to her character. You heard me right, I said her. When you look at Magne, it looks like she is a dude, but that is actually incorrect. Magne is a trans. You even see Spinner say big sis in this episode. So just an FYI, yeah, that's a thing. So if you wonder why some of the villains are going to address Magne with, a female pronoun, that is the reason. So, and that's also the why Magne talks like that. Why she, talks in that type of accent is because of her being a trans. So making sure I get that out of the way to just explain why that was said for this episode. Now, speaking of Magne's track record, we also know that Magne is, someone that killed 3 people and 29 attempted. That is absolutely ridiculous in terms of just count. So definitely not an innocent person whatsoever, and definitely can back up those words when, it said she will, hurt someone really badly. She definitely will do so because of what we saw in this episode being done to Pixie Bob. So Class B gets a little bit of the spotlight for this episode. It's very minor, but it's a very impactful scene because it has a whole lot of weight for the theme of the story, but also future events later on down the road. See, Class B, they've always been like the underdog, okay, a part of the main cast. And, for instance, Class A is always taking the spotlight. They're always, fighting villains, having important, things happening around them. They're always getting this experience. They're always one step ahead of Class B. And Class B is always kind of like thrown under the bus or swept under the rug. Nobody really pays attention to them, and it's pretty much a gag in the series and the community in general about, Class B, that they're not relatively important whatsoever. And you see Tetsu talk to, the class rep and all that, like the class president's like, hey, look, I know that you keep Monoma in line and all that. I know that you make it to where he doesn't constantly start problems with Class A, but you have to admit you feel that inferiority. You feel like we're inferior to Class A. Even though we take the same curriculum, we, go to the same school and all that, the only thing is that we're lacking is a true crisis that we've been in, and that is very true. When you think about Class A, they have been through a whole lot throughout the series, with the whole stuff with the League of Villains at the start in Season 1, to what happened in Season 2 with Stain and everything, and then now with this going on right now, they've always gotten these issues with villains to tackle, which has made them be able to progress a lot faster towards their path of being a hero. And that's kind of what Tetsu is trying to say, is the reason why they were able to progress so much, and why they're acknowledged so much, is because of what they've already done for the world. They're being heroes already, and they're just still in school. And he's like, look, if we were to run away and not do anything, how can we call ourselves heroes? Because heroes don't run away from trying to help someone. And that's pretty much what he was trying to say. He's like, we shouldn't run away when people need help. So that right there gave us some insight to how Class B feels about Class A. Even though they respect Class A, they don't want to make them, upset or anything, and they don't want Class A to treat them any differently. They're just like, also, we need to showcase that we're heroes as well. We should not run away. So great scene. Overall, very good scene. Love it a lot. So, next scene, we move over into the Bakugo stuff with Moonfish. So, Bakugo encounters Moonfish for the first time in this episode, and I want to be honest, this is one of the few times to where, in terms of art and the way the introduction is done, the manga is done way better. Now, I'm not saying that this scene is a bad scene by any means. It's a great scene. Music and everything, the tone of the voice of Moonfish, it's beautiful. But in terms of artwork, Moonfish was a lot creepier in the manga, and he was kind of censored in a way, because he was just, oh my god, like, it was definitely not a character designed for a shonen by any means. And so, just Moonfish in general, his atmosphere, it's still very creepy in the episode, but in the manga, it definitely was leagues above what we got for this episode. But still, Bakugo encounters Moonfish, and as we know, apparently Bakugo's on a list. We don't know exactly what for, but he's on a list. We could finally get into the Kota stuff and Muscular and all of that. So, that entire part of the episode is breathtaking. Where to begin? You know what? Let's start from the beginning. So, the beginning of this episode, before the opening song, it's obviously a recap. But it's probably the most fitting recap you could possibly ever do for stuff like this. I mean, it wasn't like the typical recap we get for Boku no Hero or My Hero Academia. It's, a recap that kind of lets us know what was going on with Kota, what he has been through throughout his life, what happened to his family. We get reminded of that. And that is really important for the events that happen on later in the episode. So I appreciate that type of recap. It just shows that they were using the recap in a way to show what would happen later on in the episode would have a whole lot of weight. So, recap-wise, just a great start to the overall Kota, Muscular, and Izuku stuff. Now, when we finally get into what Muscular is doing towards Kota, that is the truly scary part, because Muscular, from his just overall persona, the way he carries himself in that moment when he's looking at Kota, he does not look like someone that would just let Kota be. Like, for instance, let Kota just run away, or, let, Kota give him his hat and then just be gone. he's definitely someone that would have done something despicable to Kota if Izuku did not pop up when he did. For instance, if Kota would have just literally not ran away, gave over his hat, Muscular still would have done something to him. So the point stands is, it's just the overall presentation of Muscular. You can automatically peg what type of person he was in those few moments because of just how scary and menacing he was. And it got even scarier when, while he was slowly coming towards Kota and all that, you see Kota reminded of who this man is. For instance, who his parents died to. And that's the realization of just how crazy this is for Kota to, look at the very person that made his life what it is today. And Muscular charging him like that, it has to just make you freeze up and tense up. And he thought everything was over. And Izuku comes out of nowhere and saves him. It's a great moment, because Izuku, in this one moment, he is charged with being a hero. Now, I know for a fact the title of this video is probably going to be somewhere near that. It's like Izuku, first time ever being a hero or something like that. But this was the first true time Izuku had to be a hero, and there was no backing down. Nobody to come in and help. See, if we back up and go to what we saw in Season 2 with Stain and all that, Izuku had backup. He had Todoroki to help him, Ida to help him, and then eventually he had the pro heroes come in and join and help him as well. So in reality, Izuku has always had backup when it comes to him trying to save someone. I mean, if we think about the slime monster at the beginning of the series, Season 1, Episode 1 or 2 or whatever, when All Might came in and saved, Bakugo, well, we know Izuku tried to do something, but he didn't technically save Bakugo. In turn, he actually kind of made it a little bit more complicated between the relationships, so he didn't really help him in the end. But the point is that this is the first true time in the series that Izuku has had to face an opponent on his own. And not just any opponent, not someone that's like a standard weak villain, no. He had to fight someone that was able to tank 100% one for all. And that basically means that this man could tank a punch from All Might itself. Now, that does not mean that All Might would struggle. I'm just saying that this man was able to take a blow that high up, which shows that the man's durability was pretty freaking ridiculous. And so, Izuku having to fight an opponent like this, it's way beyond him. Very, very far beyond his capabilities. And it's honestly, in a lot of ways, even scarier than Stain. Stain was scary because of the way he could fight without his quirk. He was very fast, agile, and all of that, but Muscular was a different animal because of how he was able to just play around and do so much devastation. He was truly, for namesake, a muscular, swole boy that was just someone you would not want to mess with at all. So, Izuku had to stand up and fight. And what makes this scene so impactful is the fact that in the moment, the way it's presented from the point of view of Izuku, he's thinking about how he could run away with Kota, try to get to Aizawa to cancel this man's quirk, and he's like, I can't do that. As soon as I run, it's impossible. He's going to just cut me down, and nothing's going to happen. And so he's basically going over the different options or available paths he has to him, and he realizes there's nothing he can do. His phone was destroyed, so he cannot call backup or text message someone like he did against Stain. He cannot, run away because Muscular would catch him, and so because of all these little things, he's like, I gotta stand my ground. I cannot run. If I fall, Kota's gonna die. I wanna die and Kota's gonna die. He realized in that moment how dire this situation was. So when he's standing there before Kota and all that, and you just see his back and Kota's looking at it, it's like, I'm the only wall between him and Kota behind me. And that was the moment, the true moment when Izuku had to stand up and be a hero. This is the first true moment when you see the flaws in Izuku. Basically, to kind of explain the scene where it showed flaws that Izuku's fighting, he has a very telegraphed punches, or fighting style. His fighting style is very easy to predict, which is why Muscular was able to tank 100% one for all. It's because Izuku doesn't have any fighting style. For instance, he just goes in with a regular punch that's easy to notice, and Muscular's just able to bulk up his muscles to tank the blow. And so that lets us know that Izuku's flaw is he doesn't know how to fight. I mean, think about this. He's been taking moves from individuals he's been fighting throughout the series. He took some of the fighting style from Bakugo to use against him in their fight a while back in Season 1. And then certain moves he was using in Season 2 in the training arc against the teachers, he also was demonstrating different moves he learned from other students throughout Class A. So, once again, Izuku is someone that's constantly taking things from individuals and applying it to himself, but he doesn't know how to properly fight, which once again shows why his 100% didn't work as well against Muscular. The only reason why he won in the first place was because he overpowered the man. If it wasn't for him having such a broken quirk from All Might, he wouldn't have won. He overpowered Muscular. So in terms of strategy and all that, Izuku didn't really have any in terms of fighting style. So that is where you start to see the flaw right there with Izuku, that he needs to adapt to fighting style. If he doesn't, he's going to die an early death. One of my favorite moments of the fight, there's a lot of good moments, but one of my personal favorite is when he's talking to Kota and says, you know, I don't hold a grudge against your parents. I don't hold a grudge for what they did to my eye and all that. I don't hold a grudge at all. I'm just, you know, I did what I wanted to do. I wanted to kill. And they wanted to save. And he's like, we both fought. We did what we wanted to do. I won in the end. Pretty much, that scene is a perfect representation of the opening song. Fighting for your ideals, fighting for what you believe in, which that's what Stain did. He fought for his ideals, what he wanted to accomplish, and this is kind of what everybody's been doing since the beginning, fighting for their own ideals. And once again, that opening song is just perfect for this scene in general, when he starts talking. And he's like, also, I don't like it when someone is all talk lip service, but they can't back it up. That's a really nice scene from Muscular, just to show that he looks down upon heroes that cannot back up their own words, which is kind of similar to what Stain was saying. He's like, if you're trying to be a hero, you should be willing to sacrifice yourself, rush in there to try to save someone. But Muscular is an extension of that. He's like, you know, you can rush in and try to save people, there's no problem with that, that's your ideals, but if you can't back them up, then you're worthless, you're trash. So that right there shows what type of person Muscular is. So anyways, after Izuku takes a lot of blows, which, oh my god, the arm crunch. Oh my god, like, yo, the sound effect of that scene. I did not think it was going to be that brutal. I did not expect such a brutal scene for this episode. When you just hear the crunch right at the start, such quick pace and all that, his arm was just instantly messed up. He couldn't do anything. And then he messed up his other arm, and you can see the scratches, the cuts and bruises all over his arm as he's fighting Muscular. It just shows the amount of devastation he just did to his body. So the fight continues, and eventually, as Izuku starts to get scared and all that, and he stands up, he must face Muscular that's truly serious and not wanting to back down. And as Izuku is being pinned to the ground, which, oh my god, that scene was fantastic. I love the way that scene was done. Just seeing the man slowly bending backwards as he's getting crushed by the weight of Muscular's muscles. And then eventually, as he's about to go down, Kota slings his water quirk at the man and then gives Izuku an opening. And it reminds me a lot of the scene between Gohan versus Cell, when Vegeta shot his blast at Cell, and it, like, crippled him a bit, and then Gohan attacks Cell. That's kind of what that scene reminded me of. It's kind of like he was given a free jab at Muscular in that moment of opening to attack the man, and that's how Izuku won. He overpowered him. So, that scene, spot on. Spot on. And I just love the way the animation was done, the effects, the point of view, and all that, when you just see his arm going in Muscular's body, and you just see how his entire muscle fibers are just tearing up and all that as Izuku punches this man. It's pretty savage. So, the final scene to get into, though, is when Izuku just stands up, and you see his arms just go limp, and he just roars at the sky. That is the moment when he proved he was a hero. So, I love this episode. It was definitely an episode that is one of the best episodes of the series entirely. I'm talking about better than stuff from Season 1 and Season 2. But, as a brief reminder to you anime-onlys, you're still not ready. Because this is not the scene I was talking about. It's not. So, get ready. Get ready for some crazy stuff in the future. Because if you thought this was crazy, you haven't seen anything. I'm telling you that now. Get your body ready, because this is just the start. The season has a lot more in store for you. So I want to end this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Chibi out.